Right, domain and vertical asymptotes. Okay, now these two go together, domains and vertical asymptotes, and the reason is that, let's take a look at a graph, okay? Look at a regular log graph, which is basically any one of these. Can you see the domain is 0 to infinity, okay? Right, and that's because the vertical asymptote is x equals 0, okay? Now, if we take a look at this, this has been transformed, it's been moved 4 to the left. So if I do this now, if I move it 4 to the left, that's because the vertical asymptote is x equals -4, okay? In other words, -4 to infinity, okay? And the reason is this, you can only log things bigger than 0, okay? You can only log positive numbers. In other words, the x plus 4 must be greater than 0. Not equal to, like the square root domains, just x plus 4 is greater than 0. If I take away 4 from both sides, then you can see -4 to infinity with a parenthesis, okay? Let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so again, the 6 minus x must be greater than 0 for me to log it. If I take away 6 from both sides, I'll have that. And if I divide both sides by -1 or change the signs, don't forget the inequality has to change direction. So in other words, this is -infinity to 6. So be careful of those. Okay. Finally, okay, now because with logs, okay, again, if I take a look at a log graph, if I move it up or down, it's not going to change anything, okay? It's not going to change the range. It's only a left and right movement that affects the domain of logs, okay? In other words, moving something up 6 or reflecting it over the x-axis, which is negative in front, I'm still only looking at this. X minus 5 must be greater than 0. X is greater than 5, so again, 5 to infinity. 5 to infinity for that one, okay? Right, domain and range of the function. This is this question 2 here. So, domain. Well, again, with the domain, all I'm looking at is that 2x minus 3. Again, remember, that part must be greater than 0. So if I add a 3 to both sides and divide by 2, then that is the domain. 3 over 2 to infinity. Okay? Now, the range is not going to be affected. Remember, if I move this up and down, okay, these graphs up and down, nothing happens. Left and right doesn't matter. It's just the domain that gets affected with the log graphs. Let's take a look at these. Now, the clue for these is the log with the largest base. These are the largest base. The large, put it in your Desmos graphing calculator if you want to. These have the smallest base. Okay, so that it looks like the largest base, so that'll be E. This looks like the smallest base, so that'll be A. You just have to realize that this one is base 10, and that is base E, which is 2.718. Okay, so you have to figure out from there. Let's take a look at more. Which of the following is the graph of this? Okay, so what's happened here is it's been moved 2 to the left, hasn't it? Okay, this has been moved 2 to the left. Remember transformations. Now, to me, that looks like both of these. So what do? Well, we found out what the y-intercept is. Remember, y-intercepts are when x equals 0. So if I write this, that's log to base 2 of 2. Remember that from previous log rules. Log to base 2 of 2 is 1, because 2 to the power 1 is 2. And so there we go. That's the one that's got the y-intercept of 2. Sorry, 1, sorry. So it must be B, okay? Now, graphing technology, I won't worry too much about that, but you could look at, I mean, there are ways to solve this. Let's have a think about this. I mean, I think what's asking you to do is put that in your graphing calculators. But how would you do that? That's entirely up to you. Inverse, what's told about the relationship. So these are just kind of word problems you're not going to see in the homework anyway. Now, translations affect the domain. So remember, the domain of a log, the left and right will be affected. All right? It's not going to affect it. So up and down does not affect it. So there's only only the domains of logs are affected by a translation. The range isn't affected, okay? Just an up and down movement is still going to be negative infinity to positive infinity. So it's only the domain that gets affected with logarithms, just like it's only the range that gets affected in exponentials.